Hey, what's up? This is Chauncey here. I'm the host of the PopTalk podcast, and I just wanted to share something with you that I'm learning in this book right here, The Intentional Father by John Tyson. Man, this is a must read for dads. And I was just taking some notes, man. I was at Cane's and you see, I was at Cane's eating, man. I just got to scribbling, man. The book was so good. I started writing down some notes, man. And so I just want to share 5 axioms for dads who are helping their sons make the shift. I'm gonna say that word again, the shift from boyhood to manhood. You ready for him to start his journey, and you need some help. You need some resources. You need some input, some insight from another dad, from a team of dad. And this one dad right here, right, John Tyson, he has helped me tremendously. Let's get into some of these axioms. Let's get into some of these shifts, if you will. I love that word shift, man. I think of a gear shift in a car, in a Ferrari or something like that. I ain't never driven one, but that's what I think of when I think of these 5 shifts that you want to consider when making that shift from boyhood to manhood. Let's get into them. Intentional father. The first shift is the shift from a life of ease to a life of difficulty. A life of ease to a life of difficulty. The life of a boy is a life of ease. Think about it, right? They're playing video games. They're being told everything to do. Everything that they have to do, it comes from you, dad. It comes from mom, right? It comes from an adult. And that's a life of ease. They don't have to come up with their own schedule. They don't have to set their own alarms. They're being told what to do. And I first really experienced this during my freshman year in college. And I had some 8 o'clock classes, and no one was there to say, Chauncey, wake up, right? I had to establish my own schedule, and it was a hard schedule. I do not recommend 8 o'clock classes your freshman year in college. But it's a life of ease. It's a life of leisure. Work, you haven't been introduced to this idea of hard work, labor, right? Working in a factory, working construction, busting rocks. When I was into the Army, when I entered the Army, I had to go out and dig some foxholes. And you had to dig these foxholes to standard, right? And so, man, we're in Kansas, in the middle of Kansas in the hot summer, and we're using pickaxes and sledgehammers to bust open rocks and to remove them from the dirt. And it was just hard work, or just simply doing hard things, right? And this is something that I didn't have to really experience. I thought my childhood was hard, but until I became a man and really embraced being a man and really put away boyish behavior, I began to realize how difficult life can be. The difficult decisions that I had, the difficult experiences that I will experience in relationships. It was just hard. And I had to really embrace the shift between a life of ease and a life of difficulty. Man, big one right here, big one. The second shift is the shift from being selfish to being selfless, right? And this is a big one as well. The life of a boy is a life of selfishness. It's all about that boy. It's all about me, right? It's all about what I can get, what I want to do. And when you make that shift from boyhood to manhood, that has to change, right? Do you genuinely care for others? That's the heart of this shift right here. It's one of the Army core values, and it's one that really just smacked me in the face. You cannot survive in any military, any team environment, if you will. I don't care what team environment it is. Team in the marketplace, whether it's a sports team, whatever. Family, you have to have this, you have to make this shift from being selfish to being selfless, where you genuinely care about others. You genuinely care about the whole of the team, right? And where you put others first. Shift number 3, where you understand that you are part of the story, not the whole story. You're just part of the story. You're not the whole story. There's a whole narrative. There's a larger context that your story is a part of. And we need to understand this as we make this shift to manhood. There's other parts to the story, other players, other roles, other people that matter, right? And I had to understand that. And it really led me to forgiving my father in the father wound and healing in the area of the father wound that a lot of us have, right? I believe that all of us have a fatherhood wound. No matter how good your dad was or how horrible he was, we all have some type of absence, some type of hole in our heart in the shape of our dad. I had a lot of hatred because I only understood that as a child that I thought that there was just one part of the story, right? I thought that I understood the whole story. I'll say it like that. I thought that I understood the whole story, and I didn't. I didn't have the whole story. I had a lot of hatred and anger built up with my dad because he couldn't keep a job, right? Because he indulged in drugs and substance abuse, right? And that he just made a lot of decisions that hurt us. And as a child looking at this, I was angry. I was upset. I was bitter. As a teenager, I was mad. I was upset. I wanted to fight him. I wanted to take his life. But once I began to explore the whole story, I found out that there was a recession in the early 80s, right? And in the mid 80s, that a lot of adults had a hard time holding down a job. I realized that drugs were put into under-resourced communities, and my family wasn't immune from the crack epidemic that swept through America during the 80s and the 90s, right? And so I'm like, wow, there's a larger story. I'm just part of the story. There's a whole story that's being written. There was family issues that went on way before I even came into the picture. Issues between my father and his parents that he had a hard time dealing with as an adult, right? And back during this time, there wasn't this huge push for mental health, right? And so he just had to figure it out. And so compassion began to rise up in my heart. And man, it really moved me to forgive my father. And it all came from realizing that I was part of the story, not the whole story. And so I really challenge you to find out, go on a mission to discover and to learn and to hear the whole story. Make that shift. You're just part of the story, not the whole story. Man, this one, man, y'all may unfollow me over this one right here, man. This shift right here is making the shift from control to surrender. The life of a child is a life of control. They want to be in control. And if they don't, they pout about it. So if that's you and you are a man, you may want to consider making this shift from control to surrender. What am I talking about? This is a hard truth for a lot of us because as men, we want to be in control, right? We're even called to lead by the Almighty, by God. We're called to create, we're called to cultivate, but we need someone to lead us. We need someone to create vision and mission in our hearts. We need someone to teach us how to cultivate that vision and cultivate that mission. And then ultimately, you can never escape leadership. I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't care if you're the boss. I don't care if you're the CEO. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur. Even if you are a single father, right? You can still never escape leadership and being underneath leadership. We have to surrender to someone, whether that is a supervisor, a boss, our wives, right? Some of us need to do a better job at surrendering to our wives. Come on, Chauncey. I'm part of that crew. Also, sometimes we have to surrender to our children. They have certain needs. Some of us are parents of special needs children, and they have certain demands that are inherent with that relationship. Some of us have small children, right? And we need to accommodate their needs and surrender in a sense to their needs and to their wants as well, some of their wants. But we have to really manage this shift of surrendering control. How do you feel when you hear that word surrender? does it does it give a pit into your stomach? Does it make you scared? Does it make you fearful? Does it make like you feel like you're losing control? I know for a long time I had a hard time with that word surrender. But when I began to make the ultimate surrender to God the Father, surrendering in other areas didn't seem so hard. And so I want to challenge you to make the fourth shift, which is the shift from control to surrendering. The last and final shift number 5, is the shift from the temporary to the eternal. I love it. I can't wait to get into it because the life of a boy is a life that's spent living in the moment. But the life of a man, an authentic man, is a life that's spent living for the future, right? We attach ourselves to a larger legacy. And the legacy is just a word that means that we're living a vision that extends past our lifetime, right? We are attaching ourselves to a vision that extends past our lifetime, that's going to be around after we are dead and gone. What does this look like? This is a large BHAG vision, right? So eradicating poverty, ridding the world of hunger, are a cause that I'm attaching myself to, which is eradicating fatherlessness. I want to see a world where every child has a dad, where we eradicate, we do away with father absent homes, right? Imagine a community, imagine a home, imagine schools, imagine churches and nations where every child has a dad. Man, this is powerful here. And so that's something that I'm living for, that's eternal. It's gonna be a problem that's gonna be around long after I'm gone. I probably won't see in my lifetime the fruition and the fulfillment of this vision that God has implanted in my heart. But man, it's something that's worth chasing after. There's this series called the 33 series, and they put it like this. It's part of their manhood definition. It's investing eternally, right? Attaching yourself to a cause that's just bigger than you, right? And that's seeing life beyond the tip of your nose. That, man, there's something that we're supposed to put our energy towards as men, that's bigger than video games, that's bigger than chasing women, that's bigger than sports, right? It's something it's how we're gonna leave our mark on the world. And so I want to challenge you to make the shift. Make the shift. What does making the shift look like for you? Maybe it's in a relationship where you need to learn that, man, I need to be selfless in this relationship. Or maybe it's making the shift from a life of ease to a life of difficulty, embracing the hard. I heard someone put it like this, and excuse my language, embracing the suck, right? Embracing that thing that you just don't want to do, and where you are cool and okay with waking up and doing the hard thing, right? Making the hard call, making hard decisions, right? Having hard conversations where we do things that are just difficult because we're built for it. We're men, right? And we're fathers, and that's part of our role, is to do the hard things. And so that's all I have, man. Thank you for your time. Man, I hope that you become a person who can make the shift, right? Make the shift. I believe that you have what it takes to make the shift. And if you feel like you don't, I want to encourage you to join the Pop Talk community. We are a community of dads, of fathers who are doing fatherhood together, because fatherhood is not a solo sport, it is a team sport, and you can do it. Again, my name is Chauncey with Pop Talk. Peace.